The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show. Seeking super smart, super talented superheroes. How to be wow over the world and all around. The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show.
Forbes, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And let's jump right in because we want to cover a lot of ground with you. Let's talk about your mission first.
Well, you know, one of the things that I've set out to do when I started out as a career, I wanted to be an actress. And actually the base thing that I discovered I really wanted to do was just be pretty. I grew up as a very ugly, well, let's get real. I think it's really important to know what your motivation is. I grew up as a very deformed, ugly little girl. I got hit in the face with a baseball bat when I was 8 years old. My nose grew off the side of my face. Literally, I had a really odd-shaped nose. I had buck teeth braces for 8 years. I had a tongue crutcher, so I talked like this for a while, frizzy hair, and I was overweight. And it explains a lot of where I am now. You know, the pretty little girl in school, who I can remember her name even in first grade, I don't know what she became. I think if you peak in grade school or high school, you've peaked too soon.
I agree.
So I was very frustrated, rather lonely, and all the crazy little things that I spent doing, like hours in front of the movies and television and reading books and rather lonely, have paid off because I have a great sense of relatability to people who are in that situation. I grew out of it. So part of my transformation, my mission is, can you become the woman that you see in your mind? Can you have your hair and your face and your body and everything look the way you want to? And I had a little frightening moment. My sister, who's actually turning 50 this year, we grew up with a little girl who was a friend of my mom's, hadn't seen her in 20 years. She went to visit my sister, and they took a picture side by side. My girlfriend's, my sister, our friend, who was a cute little blonde cheerleader who I just envied, absolutely gorgeous when she was little, looks 20 years older than my sister now. And I thought, you know, it's interesting. She didn't really get the message on how you can become what you want to be. And so I, through a lot of personal strife and tragedy and murder, I've had my husband's little brother murdered. We've had some crazy stuff go on in our lives. I think that you are the sum of the obstacles you overcome. And I'm now at a place where all that I want to do is affect other people in terms of their personal growth and transformation and stand and say, you know what, it is possible. You will experience the darkest days of your life like I did when I lost both of my parents and realized that I was an orphan and just buried my mom, my best friend of all time, and go, wait, this can't happen to me. Yeah. I go, wow, how do you go on? Why do you want to go on? And then I got pregnant, and then I had babies and thought, well, now this is why. Wow, that's cool. That's a great reason to get up every day because I'm helping somebody else on a huge level, very selfishly, with these beautiful children. I tell the story of not getting on a flight on the morning of September 11th. I have a United Airlines 93 ticket the night before, and I won't go into all of this. It's out there online. Yeah. But I got rerouted through Denver, and that woman whose name I'll never know saved my life. Well, if you get a second chance in life, what would you do with it? For real, what would you do? You say, wait a second. If your life ended, and I've had lots of friends whose lives have ended a lot younger than me, including James Gandolfini, 51. He's 2 years younger than me, and he's gone. Mm-hmm. If this was it, are you doing what you want to be doing, what makes you happy? And I don't like when people say, wow, you should live every day like it's your last. I said, really, if that were the case, I'd be eating vanilla Haagen-Dazs ice cream with a spoon out of the tub and running around naked having sex with people. That's not going to happen. So I can't. Let's make it the day before my last day when I'm still a little saner.
Exactly. I love that you said, I just wanted to be pretty. I remember being 8 years old and blowing out my birthday candles, and my wish in my head was to grow up pretty. That was what, and I mean, at that point, it probably seems really kind of, some people can say, well, that's sad that that's all you want. But it means something more than that. Let me
tell you something. First of all, I had to get to a very profound place in my life to admit that. Because I would like to do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, that was a driving force. And through all my NLP, neurolinguistic training, and studying human psychology, you make a lot of decisions about life before the age of 7. Mm. That decision, I believe, is what drives billion-dollar industries of beauty, of skincare, of anti-wrinkle cream, of diet, of fashion. Screw it, we all wanted to be pretty. And I'll tell you something. It took a lot to stand here and say that because you can look at me and go, she's so shallow. But this is what also separates us from men. We have a different sensibility about what we strive for. Why do you think a woman would go through plastic surgery, stick needles in her face? What does it mean to be young? It means to be pretty. Mm. And Audrey Hepburn, someone just told me this quote. I'm going to get it wrong, but maybe you'll look it up. Something about pretty girls are happier. And I just heard, I'm like, did Audrey really say that out loud? And I think what she meant is, by the way, pretty is relative. Pretty is being comfortable. Pretty is having confidence. Pretty is understanding this is your body. But we have a standard of pretty. Open up any magazine. You know what's pretty and not pretty. And I think one of the things that I've discovered, I'm 53 years old, but I'm also wearing a size 4. I've never done that in my entire life, and I love when people say I'm 10 years younger. That's kind of cool. But owning that as a woman, you go, you had that same thing. It's not such a bad thing to admit, because it's what attracts you to the opposite sex. Is when you look in the mirror, how do you feel? And at the end of the day, I'd love women to look at themselves and say, you know what? I am pretty. I am pretty to myself.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really goes a long way in being able to speak your truth. I'm reading this book by Gay Hendricks right now, and he says that some of the most important steps in life is being able to speak the most simple, basic truths, which is what's going on. Those things that make you vulnerable, where people would say, well, that's shallow. But that doesn't mean that I hold that in. So speaking your truth. Now, you talk a lot about finding your truth. How did you do that? And how would you coach other women to do that?
Well, I coach other women to do that all day, every day. One of the things that I do is I have I want exercise. I've done it in public. If you go to a website if you go to myfitwithforbes.com, mm-hmm. I'll give your listeners a month free. Go fitwithforbes.com/bonus. There's no credit card you need to put in. If you do that, you go free. And what you'll see is a 10-week physical transformation class that I did. I normally charge $9.95 a month, and I was charging a lot more just to get into that class. I'm just giving that away right now.
Thank you.
Because you'll see me transform people live on stage. Everybody in the class in 10 weeks basically lost between 25 and 30 pounds with no diet, using my SpinGYM, which we'll talk about, my fitness product, how I created a whole empire out of something that nobody else believed in. And one of the exercises that we do is I want. And you can't do it to yourself, and you can't really do it with somebody who's inexperienced, which is why personal coaching, I love this exercise. I simply ask you what you want. And you'll say, I want a milkshake, I want to be pretty, I want money. And I'll go, okay, great. You can't say the same sentence twice. And I'm going to ask you the same question relentlessly for 3 to 5 minutes. After about the second minute, your head wants to explode because you said everything you think you've ever thought of. And you haven't even gotten to the truth. What do you really want? Well, I want people to respect me. What do you want? Well, I want people to notice me. Well, what do you want? And what happens is, why you want someone else to facilitate this is I can see, one, I push people. I sometimes have people do it to each other in big classes and big seminars, but nobody pushes relentlessly the way I do because I know the end of this. The end is that your voice drops, your head sinks down into your heart, and you start to go, well, one of the things that and I've done this exercise many times, it's okay to change it, it's okay, there's no right answer, but there's a level of truth that I demand when I play this with somebody. And 2 things came out of it for me, and you started this when you got me on the phone before this interview. You said exactly my truth to me. What I want is I want people to tell me that I inspired them. Mm-hmm. Do you know how hard you have to work every day for some stranger to tell you that they inspired you? I devote all day, every day to that. And it's wild. I get it. You said it to me. The second thing that turns me on beyond belief, what do I want? And you want to talk about shallow? Oh, let me step right up. I want to be told that I'm amazing. Well, Forbes, that's bizarre. Well, it doesn't matter. But how do I do that? Well, there's 2 things that I personally do. One, I've been doing magic since I was young. I'm standing in my own TV studio right now, and if you were lucky enough to look up at my ceiling, I've created these giant foam heart, diamond, club, and spade. I mean, they're like 7 foot tall because I do card tricks, and they're the clouds in my office. And one of the things when you do a magic trick is people say, wow, that's amazing. You hear it all the time. Mm. I'm a little addicted to that word. But you also create their sense of wonder. You do a lot of things when you do a magic trick to somebody. You let them remember that magic exists in the world and it's available for all of us. The second thing is when I have somebody SpinGYM, put it in their hand for less than 30 seconds, the first thing they say is, wow, this is amazing. And I just kind of smile and everyone around me goes, God, she got another one. It's like little Clarence hearing the bell. You know, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Yeah.
Every time Forbes hears she's amazing, she's made her day. That's like my little bank account. And you know what? When I hit on this, and I mean, it's so unique. I know you've never heard anyone say any of these things, have you?
No, but it's like what we all have inside our heart. We're embarrassed to say it.
Right. I think I got to that point. I'm not embarrassed anymore. And I used to tell the joke. I said, you know what I really love? I said, the reason I do magic tricks to get the word amazing is because I can't sleep with everybody. And actually, no one ever says I'm that amazing anyway, but you get the point. But to make you laugh, to inspire you, to have you go off and do something great in the world seems to be what I am devoted to. And in fact, I'm doing the craziest thing right now. I have a very eclectic career. I don't know if your listeners have Googled me. And it didn't set out this way. By the way, I just wanted to be an actress. I was very happy just acting. Mm-hmm. And then I began to be a TV host. And I've hosted everything from the X Games to my own talk show. I had a dog game show. I had a nationally syndicated radio show doing classic rock stars. And then somehow I was a bad waitress. I went off to QVC, and the next thing you know, I'm selling products on television, and I'm doing fitness, and I just shot my 128th infomercial. Wow. This year alone, the nominations for Best Female Presenter of the Year came out. There's 3 nominees per category. You're going to laugh. I'm nominated twice. It's me versus Joan London for 2 completely different shows. I've never seen that. If you go to electronicretailing.org and look up the Moxie Awards 2013, it's like, oh my God, look what you achieved by just following your goofy mission here.
And you're a National Fitness Hall of Fame inductee.
So here's how that happened. And, you know, what I really want to do as I'm at this point in my life is give people hope, because the craziest thing is we don't ever get what we want. We think we do. We think we want to get what we want. We don't really know what we get. And it's sometimes the things that we get that we don't realize are the greatest things in the world. And you just got to stay. I think one of my secrets is I stopped still long enough to remember and realize that I had some great things in my life. Don't miss them. Mm-hmm. So one of the things was I just wanted to be an actress, right? 8 or 9 years ago, I finally get the lead in a Fox TV show called Fashion House. You can watch the pilot on YouTube. And I am over the moon. This is what I wanted my whole life. This is the Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn moment. Mm-hmm. This is my Jane Fonda. I'm thrilled. They shoot the pilot. They clears the entire country. They buy it. The 11th hour, after 4 months of waiting, Fox says to me, hey, you know what? The marketing team doesn't really know your name. You've got the biggest role in the show. We're going to replace you with Bo Derek. You're kidding, right? That's a joke, right? That's funny because you can't act, right? Oh, really? Do I get like a small part? No. Yeah, you're done. Thanks so much for helping us. See ya. Then my agent calls and says, hey, you know, you're really talented. You've done some great work. You've worked on Broadway. You've done movies and television, but you've never been big enough as a failed TV star to, and every time you go up for an interview, you get to that stage. As an actress, you'll interview for months for a role, and if you don't get it, you don't get it. Mm-hmm. So I'm up against Kim Cattrall, Mary Louise Parker, Katie Seagal, and then Bo Derek. Seriously, Bo Derek and I wish I could compete with Bo Derek, right? Because she was a 10 and I'm like, 2.5. So my agent said, you ought to go brand yourself. He said, because I don't want to represent you anymore. After my heart fell through the floor, a little below China, I was like, whoa. But I stopped for a second, and I said, what did he just say about branding yourself? I picked up my 2 3-year-old twins. I moved out to Florida. I took my QVC business to HSN because they were willing to let me explore more of other products than just fitness products. Mm-hmm. And I walked around in a room, a rented little apartment with my 2 little babies going, what the heck does that mean, brand yourself? I don't want brand yourself. I don't know what it means. And I'm like, and 8 years ago, personal branding was a very not really popular thing. Right. And then I stopped and I said, all right, let's forget what you want. Let's look around and see, what have you done? Well, you hosted that Jack LaLanne Juicer infomercial, and that runs like 400 times a week. I wonder how much money that's made. And I made a phone call, and that had grossed about $800 million at the time in 80 different countries. I didn't know that. I mean, I get my royalty checks, but it wasn't $800 million. And then I've hosted, $1 million days on Home Shopping and QVC, and I started to add up the fact that I'd been there and in London for almost 18 years at that point, and did the math, and the math came up then about 7 years ago to $2 billion in sales. And I had to stop for a second and go, wow, I never looked at myself that way. That's interesting. And I called a couple of my fitness friends, and I realized that my Rolodex is filled with there's no one in my industry, in the fitness industry, you name them, that I can't call. Lou Ferrigno, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jack and Elaine Lane, Gilad, Tammy Lee Webb, they're all friends. I'm like, that must make you important. I know that sounds silly, but no one else was telling me that. And it was at that moment I actually talked to Johnny Abdur, if you remember the Abdur. Mm-hmm. And Johnny says, hey, I just nominated you for the National Fitness Hall of Fame because there's a category of people who have affected lives the way you have through product and spokesperson. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a joke, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's there and Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons and people whose name you know. And then I got inducted. And thought, okay, I don't think I was taking my life seriously. Let's stop wanting to be pretty and let's start wanting to do something else. and literally, I looked at Tony Little and some other people in my world and thought, all right, what do those people do? Well, they have product. You know, I was raised as an actress in theater. And when you do that, I was raised by a very lucky, I was lucky to be raised by a wonderful director who wanted to make sure that we were egoless. I think he, got stifled in the theater because, you can be around divas and how nasty that is. So when you got the lead in the play, he made you go paint the scenery and sweep the floor after the show. And I've taken that ethic with me. So I was always a team player. It was never about me. Oh, look at me. And then one day when the whole branding thing said, if you don't start looking at me and making your name something and saying this is brought to you by Forbes Riley, no one will notice you. And that was a huge sense of, oh my God, I have to muster up my confidence here. And there's another moment, and I know you know this, and I know a lot of people who've done this. When do you become an expert? The moment you declare it. Well, no one told me that one. I was waiting for someone to say, hey, Forbes, you're an expert. They're not going to do that. You have to actually step into your light and say, look, I've studied this enough. I've worked in this industry. I can answer people's questions. I've taught. Blah, 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 blah. Today, I am a fitness expert. And I remember that moment thinking, okay, is everybody laughing? And then I realized, nobody was even in the room with me. The other day that happened was the first day that I put CEO on something. I said, oh, my God, I'm a CEO of a company. That's so cool. I wonder if anyone's going to laugh and tell me that I'm, not qualified. So I think, and especially as women, I think we have a lot of that self-esteem issue.
I agree. And what I'm envisioning as you're talking is this airplane dashboard where you know that they're not always on the path that they think they are. They're always constantly correcting course. And so
I love that.
Having that willingness to keep, one, you're asking the question, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Go deep. And then a willingness day by day to constantly correct course. Don't let, someone who says, well, I'm sorry, you're not a branded name right now, so therefore we're not going to represent you, devastate your world.
Right. And by the way, it does for a moment. It stings really bad.
Yes.
Make no mistake, there have been many nights I've cried into my pillow. I felt lost and crazed and scared and unhappy and it's, and I think the problem is so many of us look at people who are there as somehow they have better. They had a magic wand. They had a magic fairy godmother. They don't have anything. Mm. It's the Wizard of Oz. You were there all along. You have to own it, believe in it, create it, dedicate yourself to it. And like you said, and know that you're not always on the right course. You're always correcting, and that's okay too. All of those things, it's just not what you think. And then here's the other crazy thing, is that once you are successful, it's not what you think either. Think about it. Seriously, I'm kind of envisioning Oprah waking up in the morning going, oh, my God, I'm Oprah. I'm Oprah. Because if she does, here's the thing. I've won awards. I've won major awards. Now, I can imagine how cool it must be to win an Oscar. But I'll tell you what, the next morning, it sits on your shelf and you're going, oh, wow, I'm the best actress in the country. Okay, now what? And I don't think we realize that people actually have those moments. And I know that because if you look at all the drug use and the things that happened to some of our, why did Elvis end up the way he did? Nobody's any happier than you are right now. Which is kind of that's interesting.
Which is something you've also said, how you do something is how you do everything.
Oh, that's just so true.
How you show up now is how you'll always show up. So,
well, but it's really basic. Let me ask you, how clean is your car right now?
My car's pretty clean. I like things to be neat.
Okay, but that's one of those things, though. But you can't lie about this. How organized is your desk and your taxes and your relationship with the people and all of the things that you do that you don't think matter. If you have a dear friend of mine said, look, very few people look at a giant, gorgeous skyscraper and say, wow, what a sexy foundation.
That is true.
Unless you've got that foundation and spend the countless hours and it's not sexy or fun.
Yeah.
people say, Forbes, how do you get to walk out on TV? On January 28th, about 5 months ago, I walked out and sold 61,000 SpinGYMs in 24 hours. That was a $1.5 million day of a product that 2 years ago, when I took it on Pitchmen, I got my head handed to me and left that TV show in public crying, being told it was never going to work. A lot of stuff happened between those two moments, and I've documented a lot of them, including standing at U.S. Customs crying my eyes out because 20,000 units of mine had been seized, and I had to hire 12 people I'd never met off of Craigslist to physically black out a mistake that we'd made on 40,000 DVDs. That was a sucky week of my life. You go, no, I don't publicize that, but you do if you're me, because my goal is to teach other people that their dreams are possible. Mm-hmm. I'm working on, and I'm hoping that one of your listeners can help me with this. We're working on getting a new word into the English dictionary. Quick story. I'm at Yusepa Island in Florida with about 40 fitness women giving a speech, and normally my speeches are designed to inspire you. Well, that night I had a very self-serving speech, and I was just talking about the people that I'd met and the things that I've hosted National Telethon with Betty White. I dated Neil Simon. I was in Broadway with Christopher Reeve. I did a singing telegram for Dustin Hoffman. I just went on and on about things that were kind of random, and after this very long speech, my team looked at me and said, "What were you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just felt good." They're like, "Don't do that again." Yeah, okay. But that was my team. Now the audience got something different of it. So the next morning we're sitting at a raffle, and this woman is looking at this beautiful necklace about to be raffled off. There's 40-some-odd women in the room. You have a 1 in 40 chance. Those are not good odds. And she's telling me how beautiful it would look around her neck. Her daughter's getting married, yada, yada, yada. They call her name for the necklace. She looks at me and says, "Oh, my God, I Forbes'd it." You know what that means? That means to manifest something when the odds are not on your side, when nobody believes that you can do something and you made it anyway. Well, here's what's funny. I started talking about that, and I'd ask people, "What have you Forbes lately?" Just yesterday on Facebook, a woman, I was at the Mall of America doing a huge infomercial, and I started talking about this. That was December. She just Forbes me yesterday on Facebook. You can actually see it on my wall if you go to funwithforbes.com. That you get to my fan page, 148,000 fans. You want to post there. And she says, "I Forbes becoming Mrs. Minnesota." I love this.
Wow.
Every week somebody tells me something they Forbes, something that no one else thought they could do, but they had it in their head and their mind. They bought into the law of attraction, took action on a dream, and it manifested. Whoa, wow, you Forbes it.
It's a verb.
It's a verb. It's a kind of a cool verb. Mine, yeah. I used to just be a noun. Now I'm a verb. Who knew?
No, Forbes, you are a woman, and you love all womanly things, and you've also talked about this, that, there's been this shift in the world of business, in the world in general, from I to we, and nothing represents we more than women. What is it that you think that we bring to the table that is so needed, that bridges some huge gaps?
Oh, my God. I love being in a room full of men and going, "God, you guys just don't get it. You just don't get it." The world is much more fun now, by the way, because women are in charge, and we actually have, go into Office Depot. You can buy really cute colored things for your desk. Coordinate.
Don't we bring the magic? We're like the magic of...
Here's the thing, and men don't understand this, and that's okay, too. We are, first of all, we are the mothers. We give life. There's a very unique moment. I remember after I gave birth to my kids and the war was going on in Afghanistan, and I thought, no. How can you kill people? How can you kill somebody's son? Shame on you. Whoever you are, I don't care what side you're on. Shame on you. There's a mother there who gave birth to this beautiful little baby, and you just shot him. Shame on you. And I thought, how do you do that? And then I looked around at all the generals. How many women generals do we have in this country? None. None.
Yes.
How many women are running a country that can't wait to go into war? None. So I just, and not that it's utopia if women ran it. Believe me, sometimes women can be catty and bitchy, but there's things that we just don't do. And we do like things that are glittery, and we do like pink. I would like the world to wake up one morning. Everybody in the world just agree, like on Christmas morning, but more than just Christmas, say, "You know what? Today my only goal is to make somebody else's life better, period. Put down the guns, put down the power, put down the sticks. They need that you, and it's this ego thing. It's just insane, and we don't do that. So, when women are, and here's the problem too, is that sometimes it takes a woman becoming more man-like to be in charge, and then that's not fun either. Women can be cranky. We're not the end-all, be-all, but I market to women, and I'm often in a room full of men, and I'll say things. I mean, I have a product now called Cool Towels. You snap it, and it gets cool. Brought to you by my partner Serena Williams and a couple of other people, and they started out with blue and red, really fitness blue and red. And I'm like, my ladies don't want blue and red. I want polka dot and zebra and some pink. Well, this last weekend, we launched with neon green, orange, pink, purple, and I sold 800% more than they wanted me to sell in the weekend. I had 18,000 to sell all summer. I sold them in a weekend. Guess what? I know a woman because, and here's my biggest advice to women. Now, if you can't listen to men, I love men. Don't get me wrong. There's certainly a place for all of them. But listen to yourself. You are your customer. What you like, what's missing in your world is what you should be focusing on. When I look at something like, do I want that? Would I buy that? Because women buy most of the stuff on television. Women are most of the people in stores. They shop more than men do. So you go, wow, okay. I'm 18 and I'm a girl and I really think that we should have, T-shirts that do X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? If you want it, it's probably the right thing to do. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I want something different. And if you don't see it in the marketplace, that's where it should be. And the other thing I'm going to share with you, it goes back to being kind of a loner. I was a maverick. I thought I could do this on my own, and I was wrong. You can't do it on your own. One, it's not fun, because then you stand there all by yourself, and yay for you. And two, you need the support and the knowledge of others. So listening to a show like yours, and I think you said this when I asked you what your show is about, and you talked about women, and I said, can I get a subscription to this so I can tune into other women who are making a difference? You've got to every day turn off the news and start reading or listening to people who have created miracles in this world. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of them. A lot of self-help people, a lot of wonderful leaders, read biographies. I just went to see Holland Taylor on Broadway do the Ann Richards story. Unbelievable. How inspiring that this woman, one of only 2 female governors in the United States for the last 20 years, did what she did. Find role models. Don't keep listening to the wrong people. Surround yourself. Find a mentor. Find somebody who's done what you've done, because you're not going to recreate the wheel. You don't have to. It's been created. Put your spin on it. Get there faster. It took me way too long to get where I am. And now that I know what I know, that's one of the reasons I teach, is I love the fact that, come to me. If you want to get a product on HSN, if it's right, I can do that tomorrow. You don't need 20 years of doing this. You need a lot of guidance. You need people around you. You need the right information. The Internet's changed everything. There's access to anything you want. And it all goes back to what? What do you want? What makes you happy every day?
Love it. Love all of it. Now, before we wrap, what is next for you? What is next for Forbes Riley?
Okay, so I'm going to put this one out to the universe. I've got books coming out. SpinGYM is continuing to grow. I have some serious infomercials that are in the world. I got 4 or 5 hit ones at the moment. What I would love to be is the health and fitness Martha Stewart. I'd like a TV series back on air between Dr. Oz and Rachel Ray. That is my take on focusing on how to bring informative, fun, and interesting health and wellness to women out there. But having said that, I'm going to make a little detour. Lily Tomlin let me do her one-woman show a decade ago. And I love being on stage. I love conveying those things. Well, I just saw Jillian Michaels do a little 34-city tour, and I ran into a man who does these most amazing visual effects. He's done major movies, and I saw a piece that he did in Puerto Rico that just shocked me to no end, and I got him on the phone. And he pretty much said, my technology, I could bring Jack LaLanne back to life for you on stage. I'm like, whoa. I could take my message of doing a magic show, which I've always dreamed of doing on that level, and I'd love to do a show with this concept of all the things that I've done in life. Can I do it not as a speaker in that kind of forum, but as an entertaining evening where you leave the theater motivated, inspired, you're with a plan going, oh my God, there is magic in the world, because that's the thing that I know to be true. I see real magic all the time in the world, and most people that I speak to see none. One final story, one of my little girls, I did this weight loss seminar. She was in my class. She listened to me talk just like you guys have now, and African-American, 26 years old, beautiful face, about 50 pounds overweight, had an 8-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And she came up to me and she said, Miss Forbes, you don't live in the same world that I do. I don't even know if you live in reality. And I sat thought for a second. I said, well, I think you're right. I said, the irony is we do live in the same world, but I see it differently. I see a world of possibilities. And she's like, no, that's not my world. Well, first of all, that's your choice. And she said, no, it's just not my world. I said, okay, well, let's see if we can prove something. What do you want? And she said, well, I'd like a house for my kids. We live in an apartment. I said, okay, so what do you want? Well, I want this for my kids, and I want that. And she went on and on. And finally, I said, yeah, Angie, you got to stop. What do you want? She said, what do you mean? I said, you talked about your kids. She said, what do you want? And she said, and then she started crying. I said, what's going on? She said, no one's ever asked me what I wanted. Think about it. She had her baby at 19. She comes from the inner city. Mm-hmm. No one ever asked her what she wanted. And she calmed down for a little bit, and I said, okay. I said, so if we really could find something that you want. She said, well, I'd like to take my kids on a Disney cruise. I said, okay, we're back to our kids. I said, you want to see something? Just stop for a second. I turned to my audience. I had 29 men and women in my audience. And I said, guys, let me show Angie that how to live in the Forbes Riley world. I said, how do we get her collectively and her family on a Disney cruise? I know cruise ships leave all the time, half full. I know there's ways to do this. I worked for Club Med for years so I could go scuba diving. I created a stand-up comedy show at ski resorts because I grew up with no money. My dad put his hand in a printing press and spent 3 years in the hospital, and we were completely broke. I ended up in a beauty pageant winning it so I can get a scholarship to college. I understand what it means to be so innovative and there is no rules for what I do. You just dream. Mm-hmm. And with that, a little girl in the very back of the room raised her hand and said, well, in Orlando, I play Ariel at Disney. I sing, and I have 2 free tickets to Disney World here in my pocket if you'd like those. Oh, my God, really? Did I just Forbes that in 20 minutes? Come on, seriously? So if you can do that, if you believe that that's possible, and I do, I keep proving it to myself, that miracle is possible, and you live in the state that I live in, you can create anything. And that when you do, and you prove it to yourself over and over again, you go, do I just know something that other people don't know? And the answer is no. I just believe. And I believe with such a veracity that the universe, if you have a dream, it conspires to help you. Wow. And then I looked at her, I said, baby, look around here. I said, I'm jokingly, I slept my way to the middle. I didn't marry a man who had money. I didn't inherit money. I said, you're standing in a 5,000 square foot TV studio that I built from the ground up. I don't know how we got here. I just dreamed it. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not hard work and a lot of dedication, but this works. Mm-hmm. So all you have to do is ask yourself, what do you want? And the last thing I'll leave you with is the answer can't ever be, I don't know. When you say, in fact, people who say, I don't know to me, I've actually kicked out of class and I won't let back. You say, I don't know, and you've shut off any possibility. I would rather that you stop talking and let your head explode because you may not know, I get that, but don't admit it, not even to yourself, because there is a way that you only know if you don't close that door. Mm-hmm. And
No, I'm just feeling choked up about all of this. It's thank you for everything.
Will you come see my show?
Yes, I will. It's just everything you said has just been.
You sound very emotional. Tell me what you're experiencing.
There's a lot of things that you say about growing up that are so, I'm like, that was me. Oh my God. From even the pageants to go to school. I did pageants to get scholarship money to go to school. And it was a business, it was an entrepreneurial thing for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was also like, oh, this is lucrative if I do this. In having that spark and that, that desire, and then keep correcting course, and also feeling the times where it goes away. You feel that fire is kind of being stamped out. And I think that's what brings you so much empathy. You have that connection with people. You're able to, you said it, relate to people. But I'm in that journey right now where I'm like, okay, I've had a wonderful career doing this and this and this and trying to figure out what the next thing is for me. And feeling just in that still, like wanting to just cry it out, but frustrated with that too. I don't know. That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No, it does. And actually what you just did, think about it. One of the things that you're dreaming of right now is having your message out there. So everyone who's listening to this conversation just heard something that they've probably never heard except maybe on Oprah, and think about how successful she was. When you can touch people this way. How old are you?
33.
All right. So I didn't get married till I was 31. I had my babies at 42. You have time. Don't waste it, though. You'll call me at some point, and maybe we won't do it in public, but we'll play the I Want exercise, because I'm good at that.
I imagine.
Well, here's the thing. Just everything that and I know what you're feeling, and I love the fact that there's people listening to you right now, and I'm hoping you don't edit this out. I'm serious about that, because the vulnerability that you just shared is the secret that no one's willing to talk about. That it's not as easy or as glamorous, and it's frustrating, and people who think they have a message and want to share something and don't know where to go next. You just gave everybody a lot of hope, and I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
And by the way, just so you know, even though you're in your own personal struggle, you opened a door that allowed me to say hi to you in public. Yay for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was pretty powerful.
Thank you.
And I don't know that I've actually said all the things I did the way I did and recorded it. You're going to send me a transcript so I can put this in my new book, because I thought it was pretty powerful. So think about that. I mean, a big yay for both of us that we managed to meet and have this conversation and touch people all at the same time. And take a breath, because I got to tell you, it's a roller coaster. It just is. And you're in it for the long haul. And there's ways to manifest things. And like you said, always course correcting. It's never quite the way it's supposed to seem, even though I've got lots of great things going on and unbelievable stuff. Two things. One, it's not quite what it looks like. And two, don't ever take that for granted, because that's where that car crash happened. So just, you just enjoy, be grateful, and give back. And then it kind of just happens.
And go paint some scenery.
Well, here's the crazy thing. Here's the difference. I'm 20 years older than you. 20 years.
Yeah.
You will be able to, 20 years from now, stand in that space. When I was 33, none of this made sense. When I tell people my story and my history, did you ever tell somebody you're going on a trip? The trip is long, it's hard, it's hot, it's sweaty, and then you say, wow, I went to England, and you don't remember all the bullshit that took you got there, and the 8-hour plane trip, and standing in line at security for 4 hours, and having bad food, and get a tummy ache. So telling someone about the journey is always a lot better than actually doing it, just so you know. You're in the middle of the journey. When you look back on the journey, you go, oh, remember that time? Yeah. I have a lot of those stories. They look a lot better from 53 than they did from 23.
Yeah. You actually just gave me a little bit of clarity, too, in that you said that, I haven't said some of these things in the way I've said them. That's a pattern for me. A lot of people have said, when they are doing interviews with me or just talking with me and collaborating, that might be part of my zone of genius, where I can get that out of people.
Hey, that's a huge zone of genius. Don't sell yourself short.
Get them to tell me stuff and to tell it in a way that they're like, whoa.
Yeah, no, you ask really good questions. I have to tell you. Here's the thing, too. You listened, and I know the difference. I heard you listening, and your response was in response to what I said, not some pre-list of questions. So you're on your path. Don't discount that.
Thank you. Wonderful. Now, if our listeners, we're going to have everything on a website, because you have a number of places people can go to find you. You're everywhere, and plus that generous free gift bonus that you have offered our listeners. What's the best way to connect with you and find out more about you?
The single best way. And it really is, there's an easier URL, but facebook.com/Forbes Riley fan page. Okay. It is, even though I have 148,000 fans, I read it every day religiously, and I respond to most people, depending on what you say, but I've reached out because I've had people respond to me. I got my SpinGYM on the TV series The Doctors because the executive producer reached out to me through Facebook. So I don't discount that if you're bold enough to ask me a question, I'm willing to answer it. And I'm sure when I get to, 400,000 people, it may be a little complicated, but I enjoy that. So if you truly wanted to say, hey, I've got something, go to facebook.com/Forbes Riley fan page. For information, just go to ForbesRiley.com. There's some fun stuff there. But I would seriously take advantage of this bonus. It doesn't cost you anything. You go to fitwithforbes.com/bonus. And, check me out on, for example, check me out on HSN. I'm there all the time. This will have already aired, but tomorrow's July 4th in our world, and I will be on 4 times. I'm on every month, probably 10 times. Go to hsn.com and see what I'm up to. And, I listen to people's, here's the thing, here's what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for that next idea. You've got a brilliant idea. I did start charging for that, though, because all of a sudden ideas came to me too quickly, and people have products and ideas. I charge kind of a nominal review fee for which that you get my personal take on your product. That's worth a lot. I've grossed more than $2 billion, 128 national infomercials, and I sell live to the tune of $1 million a day. I've got a pretty strong impression of what works. I'm not always right, though, and I am willing to admit that, too. If Danny DeVito came to me and said he wanted to be an actor, I'm going to go, look, you're 4'11". It's probably never going to happen. Or look, I've got a product where green stuff grows out of Obama's head. Really, that's a chia pet? That's not going to work either. So I'm not always right, okay, and I admit that. But I do have the ability, if I love it, to make you a millionaire, to literally take you on air on television with a product that, if I think it's right, it works. It's never not worked, and it's been 25 years. So we do offer coaching. We offer all kinds of stuff. If your audience is innovative and wants to reach out, they'll find me.
Love it, love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Stay on the line. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick wrap. But thank you so much, Forbes. It's been inspiring. It's been fun. You made me laugh. You made me cry. Everything. So. To our audience, thank you for listening. Now get out there and build something beautiful. Until next time, take care.